We are live.
Yeah, I
Powell
do
and I
think
were. Uh,
talking
Wilson
artists.
should show up sometime.
I do think I have a James Fry Captain America somewhere around here. And Kurt Busiek said he liked working with Fry.
Okay. I mentioned him. Matter of fact, have you heard about any comic book controversy this week?
Mark Miller, he invited a bunch of retailers so that they could complain about the not being able to get the customers to buy the Marvel comics.
Is that what it was? Because I saw
Well,
something on Scott Koblish's Facebook post saying something like he'd been off the internet for 3
yeah,
days, and he comes back to this huge controversy. I'm like, I didn't see any controversy.
no.
I missed
No,
it all.
the controversy was last week because
Okay.
Mark in Twitter, Ethan Van Sciver reacted to Mark Miller retweeting that retailer who complained that
Okay, yeah, I saw that with the
Marvel stock
retailer. I remember that was that was last week, that
last week.
retailer
Yeah,
complaint.
and Mark Miller and Mark answered back saying, "Cheers, bud."
Right, I saw that. That was last week. But this I don't know what Scott saw, but I missed the entire controversy.
Yeah, but
Whatever it
and
was.
Mark Miller keeps bringing it up.
I did see something to that. I didn't dig into it where it was what's her name? Gail Simone
Mhm.
was apologizing to Mark Miller and taking one of her tweets down because somebody took one of Mark Miller's tweets and attached a different comic book cover to whatever comic he was talking about.
Mhm.
So that started some controversy too.
And apparently, Mark Waid complained about something, which is also typical of him nowadays.
Okay. Okay. That
The
led me to I noticed James Fry mentioned on Scott Koblish's post that he
the thing
hasn't
is,
drawn a comic in 10 years. And I was like, oh, okay.
if anyone can replace Marvel and DC at the stores, it's Mark Miller, because it doesn't matter how ridiculously pop his comics are. He has the most consistent lineup of comics out there in terms of quality.
And Netflix backing.
That helps, of course,
Yeah.
but he has a product that you can point at, and hey, if you like this, try this other
Right.
thing. It's mostly the same.
Yeah.
But they're they're fun,
Yeah.
and that's it. Yeah.
There's generally always a level of quality to them that's pretty good.
Hmm.
Mind the comics, you got the best seat in the house tonight, for sure. Eric P. There's a lot of noise about the controversy and not much signal. Yeah, I don't know. Good evening, Comic Crack. Yeah. So I just saw a reference to some controversy, but I have no
Well, not
idea what it is.
well. Now that Comic Crack is here, maybe I can ask. What can anyone tell me about Derek Gross Sr.? Because in the Grand Comics database mailing list, people were updating his biographical info
Good
because
evening,
he
Tim
died.
Column. Derek Gross Sr.?
Yeah, he was some cartoonists.
I don't know that name.
He had an umlaut in the O.
Ah, he must be metal. Let's see. Is he going to give me any balloons if I go like this? Where are my
They didn't put the balloons.
balloons?
They took out the balloons. They don't want us to have balloons anymore. Maybe they want us to pay for the balloons. That's
Could
why.
be.
Yeah, they gave us a freebie. The second one you have to pay for.
Yeah, or they do it inconsistently. You never know when it's going to come. You have to keep flashing peace signs and thumbs up till you get something.
There's no controversy, Terrence. It's they're still going on about the Mark Miller thing.
Yeah, I don't even know what if I knew what the controversy was, I'd lead with it. But all I know is my friend Scott Koblish was complaining he was away from the internet for 3 days and came back to a big comic book controversy. And I was like, oh, I missed it.
Because the main publisher, the main comics publisher here, well, the second one, if you don't count the first one, because the first one has asterisks in Tintin. But the main publisher who actually likes comics, he has a Mark Miller library, he has a Jeff Lemire library, and he has an Ed Brubaker library. So those are available. And
Okay.
as far as consistency goes,
Mark Miller. I listened to that latest interview with shop owners. Oh, okay. It might have something to do with that. I don't really know.
Yeah, but I think I've brought it up before. Most shop owners don't know how to educate their customers into trying out other stuff, and ultimately there's a bunch of readers who, if they did not start reading indie comics before they were 20, they're not going to start at 50.
I don't know that there is a way to educate customers. I mean,
yeah,
if
you
your
got to trick them.
customers aren't curious,
right? You got to trick them into liking something they didn't know existed.
I mean, I can just tell you the number of my friends who are into comics, who have worked in comics, who proclaim their love for comics, don't buy any comics. I mean, it's at least like 77 out of 10 of them. And I know a lot of comic book people, but people who, no one else would know their name. They're friends of mine. They're people I met along the way, But they are comic book fans, but they don't buy any comics. And I'm always like, you say you're a comic book fan. What?
Yeah, but I got people like that as well.
Decades.
In the monthly comics dinner party, we have people. Oh, I've been reading comics for 50 years. What are you reading now? Oh, I haven't bought a comic in 20 years because all modern comics suck. I only like Corto Maltese.
That just baffles. As someone goes to the comic shop every week, that just baffles me.
Right, because these guys only like European comics, but they don't like the modern European comics. They only like the old ones by Hugo Pratt or by Mobius before he was called Mobius.
It's just crazy to me.
They complain the new Spirou stories aren't like the old ones. They brought back Blake and Mortimer. It doesn't look like Blake and Mortimer, even though it's made to look like the old Blake and Mortimer from the 50s and 60s.
Tit Goblin says, I feel like I should have battled someone with the name Derek Groves Sr., considering my name is Derek LeGros Jr. Yeah. There should be some sort of... Anyone know if Marvel or DC ever had a program to get books into school libraries? Yeah, they always worked with the library. The reason Spider-Girl was around so long in the early 2000s is because librarians wanted it. So I know that at Marvel. I'm sure DC, the Library Association of America is a pretty vocal and powerful group. So you always want your books in library. Like I even know just on a ground level, Chris Geruso, Greg Schiegel, Jacob Chabot, who do books for kids and whatever, are always doing talks at libraries too. And they're always trying to get their books into more libraries. So I'm sure there's some. Oh, I know there was at Marvel. I'm sure there still is. So that was for public libraries or for public libraries, I think it was. There's Wilson. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey.
Did you know of I know it existed, but I don't know of it firsthand, a program at Marvel that dealt with libraries? I know there was one because I know librarians were the ones who kept Spider-Girl around all the way into the early 2000s. Their demand for Spider-Girl was why Marvel kept publishing. So I know there had to be one, or at least there had to be some. They had to keep track of sales to libraries somehow.
Not that I am aware of.
Yeah.
So no,
that really wasn't anywhere in our purview, but I knew it had to be. I just know that because somebody told me that once.
Right.
An editor or someone, I can't even remember who it was. Someone who would know.
Right. That is nothing that I could recall ever coming up. And yes, I did run the Marvel library for a while, but there was no real interaction with anybody outside.
Yeah, that was a
that I
corporate
recall. So
library for inside.
Right.
That wasn't to sell anything to libraries.
No. So that, as far as I recall, that's never come across my desk.
Yeah.
The closest thing, and it's not even library related, was that there was a talk of a children's line. A children's editor was hired. Stationery was created, and then it never went anywhere. And the only reason why I know about it is because eventually the stationery was sent to me. Don't know why.
Yeah, I remember an ad in Wizard saying all of the new stuff that Marvel was going to put out in the year 2000, and there was a mention of a children's line.
Yeah. So a children's editor was hired. I vaguely remember this woman, very nice, but that's it. No name, no nothing else comes to mind. But there was like things were in the works. But that's the only when you said library, that was the only thing that kind of popped the memory.
Someone
it was
changed
like,
their mind.
Yeah,
my local library has a kids read program that has now become a mini Comic-Con. In October they had A2SAF Small Press, Indie Press, Author Spotlight, Jaime Hernandez. Wow. That's a good get.
Yeah.
I just saw Pat Brousseau, letterer, Marvel bullpenner in the 80s, was trying to buy a Jaime Hernandez original piece he was showing on Twitter and Facebook. I was like, oh, cool.
Nice.
I don't know if he's bidding on it somewhere or what, but I thought that was neat. Did you make it to the comic shop this week, Wilson?
I unfortunately did not. I've been having troubles with both my computer and trying to make a simple PDF for a 300 and something page book.
Whoa.
So it can be published through Amazon's KPD or whatever the initials are. And it has just been a nightmare of a time because, of course, we're dealing with Amazon.
Right.
1. 2, we're dealing with an automated system because there's nobody to talk to. And it should be you upload your PDF. You check off, this is fine. This looks great to me. Go to print. And then a day or two later, you get back. We cannot go to print with this because there's this problem. They don't specify exactly what the problem is.
Okay.
And their solution is so generic that you see it and you go, all I'm going to be doing is, because it comes down to bleeds.
Right.
And don't know if the system is reading something in the background of the art to be words, so the words aren't in the margins. Because, it's in the background. It's artwork. But when you read about the KDP stuff, it's always about the manuscripts and stuff like that. It's really made to print books.
Books, not art.
Not really comic books, but they say it could print coloring books and comic books because it's in there. It says, print your comic with us. I don't know how people are doing it because I've spent, it feels like months on this project, and I was only hired Monday. And again, it's coming down to everything that I read and the kickbacks that I get for kickbacks, the wrong word. The pushback that I get from the automatic system is, make the file a little bit longer to account for bleed. But it's already accounting for bleed.
I put the bleed in there.
The bleed is in there. I'm following your directions. And then they give you page numbers to fix. They don't give you all the page numbers. They just say, like, here's a page that could be a problem. Here's a page that's a problem. It's like, but you're not really giving us real information.
Right.
And again, there's no one to talk to.
Right.
At least with Comixology, you could send a questionnaire kind of a thing. You go, hey, I'm having problems with this. Eventually someone will get to you, but this is through Amazon altogether, and it's a nightmare. And I'm not even the first production guy to even attempt to tackle this. And it's for an editor that I know, a former Marvel editor. It's like, could you help me out with this? It's like, of course. Let me see it. And I'm working on it, and I don't even know what it is. Where I modified the files. I did all the things that it suggested, and it's like it still keeps popping back. It's automatic in the sense of you could upload it, and it tells you there's nothing wrong with the upload.
Right.
And you go, okay, fine, and then
it runs it through its pre-flight software.
Right, and then somewhere along the line, it doesn't like something, and there's no one to talk to.
If it's bleed too, you know what? Because when I upload things for Bad Idea, when they're having them printed at Celesco is the name of the printer. That's who prints Marvel and DC stuff too. Mm-hmm. And so what you do is there's a website called InFlight or something. It's Kodak software. And I have to upload the PDF to there. And then it runs it through its in-flight software to check everything, and it, any mistakes it'll find and send you back. But and some things like there's some you just go, you can just ignore that. There's some things you can just ignore. And one of the things it always did is any sound effect that bled off the edge of the page, it was like there's not enough bleed. It for some reason said, and it was like a 32nd of an inch short, but the software kicked back not enough bleed on these papers, which since there's a human being there, we all know that it's okay, you can just put it through. But with no human being there, it would kick something like that back to you, I imagine.
Yes, and I believe that's what's been going on. This is what it's doing. And since there is nobody there,
nobody's home, so
no one's home, and and whoever might be, because there's got to be, I'm assuming, there's got to be somebody going through it and going, here are the following pages that you need to fix.
Oh, no one's going through it. It's all automatic software.
Yeah, complete. And it's frustrating because there's only so much stuff you can do.
Right.
And I know it's more frustrating for the client because he's been trying to print this comic book for a while. And the thing what hurts is the comic book has been published before. It's been printed. Those files have no problem to them. They've been used before. I've been modifying it enough to try to get it through that system. And again, what hurts is you go to YouTube, you go to different places where people are talking about, hey, print your stuff to KDP. Here's how to do it. And you're reading it and you're watching it, and it's like, yeah, it's not the same thing.
They have no idea what they're doing.
They have no idea. And it's like, it's frustrating. And it's like, I'm willing to tackle it because I know I do have other clients that would eventually, and myself, to print books through there. And, it's a press of a button, you could buy the book. What a great concept if you could get your book up there.
I actually printed a couple of things through Amazon a few years ago, and it worked. I mean, it printed. I don't know if I ever made it go live because the printing wasn't that good. This is like probably 2017, so it's at least 5 years ago. I printed some print-on-demand stuff through Blurb. Their printing was real good, but their shipping was so highly priced that no one wants to buy. When the book costs $12 and the shipping is $10, you don't want to buy it. And that's the one where I was like, well, why don't I have 200 of them sent to me, and maybe I can ship them out. And I looked up the price, like having 200 of them sent to me, the shipping was like $150. And I'm like, well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I ended up not using Blurb anymore. I think my books are still there. I never took them down, but I haven't gone there in a while, and nobody knows they're there, so it doesn't matter. But I put a couple up at Amazon, and their printing was not as good as Blurb because I was like, well, I may as well use Amazon since Blurb's so great. But Amazon's shipping at the time was kind of expensive too. I mean, at least they're shipping for their print-on-demand books, which was a whole different business than their shipping of everything else. Right. So I ended up I had a couple shipped to me so I could check the quality, and was like, forget it. I'll have to try it again sometime because I got plenty of books I can print.
There you go. Yeah, so it's like, so I've been dealing with that, and for some reason, when I did get to at least get it to where I think it might work. Having InDesign just make my final PDF, it's just been taking forever. Don't know why. So it's just the general computer stuff that is, maybe my computer is getting to that point where it may not be able to handle this, this stuff anymore.
I don't know.
Maybe time for an upgrade. I have no idea.
How
but
old
everything
is
was
your
working
computer?
Give me a second and I can tell you when I would have gotten
Are you running the latest Mac operating system?
I believe so. I'm on the 2014 Mac Mini.
Yeah, it's getting old.
Yeah. But it's running Monterey is the last one I believe that I've been using. So I don't know if that's the latest. I try to be as updated as possible, but sometimes it will get to a point where it can't update anymore.
Right.
Other things have been working fine, but just and it's only been like the last week. It was like
it's probably that book. And does Amazon give you presets for your PDFs? I don't remember them doing that because it amazes me these print-on-demand places aren't savvy enough to give you a PDF preset.
The other problem is, since I was not the first production guy to work on this, and I'm using the files they created, because again, it's almost 400 pages. I'm trying to not create it all from scratch. I'm looking at stuff from Amazon and reading their stuff. The thing is like whatever they have preset is made for preset sizes.
And what I mean, do you know what job options are?
No.
Okay. There is a PDF file, a file for making PDFs that you load through InDesign. That's .job option. That's its file type. And if you go into where you go to file, export a PDF, and you set up all your options. Right. They're down the bottom left, there's a little button that says save. If you save it, it saves it as a job option file. And what happens is a good printing place will give you a job option preset. So
Transcon as a printer has sent me one of those. I just don't remember it being called a job option.
It's .job option. Mm-hmm. And what you do is when you go to the same place, you go to file, export, you go to load, and then you pick the job option, and it has you don't have to change any of the presets.
Right.
And then you're good to go. A good printer sends you the job options.
Right.
I haven't seen a print-on-demand place do that, but I haven't looked in 5 years.
Okay, I will look for that to see if they have that available. Because and again, it's like one of those things where it just shouldn't take that long to make a PDF.
Comic press.
Right. Again, it's comics. It shouldn't be that hard to do.
I've done this before. Good evening, Chris Girusso. You there?
Hey, guys.
Oh, there he is. Hey.
There.
Hey. How you doing tonight? I was just showing Paolo this before we came on. Something I reread this week. Frank Miller's Sin City Volume 1. This is 30 years old now. I was like, wow. If not 31. I don't know when the original issues came out. But this says it's a second printing. It's actually a third printing. First mass market paperback edition is January 93. So he must have done it in 92. So Frank Miller was 35 years old when he did Sin City. I think of him as a cranky old man so much. I forget that he was once a young man cranking out noir comics.
But when he was young, he was still kind of cranky.
But I've decided this is my favorite Frank Miller story. I haven't read it in a few years. I don't put the rest of the Sin. I haven't reread the rest of the Sin City in a while. I always liked Volume 1 better than the other volumes. And I kind of I think I stopped reading after Volume 3. But I think this is my favorite Frank Miller. It is just so well done. Have you guys read Sin City in a while?
Not recently. I don't. The only thing I ever go back to reading for Frank Miller, and I like it a lot, and I don't know why, is his Ronin.
Oh yeah, okay.
I like it. I like it a lot, and I don't know why. It's not pretty. It's I don't think I ever finish it every time. I always start it, and I enjoy starting that story. And then at some point, I'm just like, I'll finish it later, and I never do. So it's like, and it was like that when I was buying the comic books that I bought. I think I want to say it was a 6-issue miniseries.
4 maybe,
or was it 4?
Maybe 4 oversized issues, I think.
Right. I don't think I ever finished the last one. Like when I was buying them, again, I enjoyed the beginning of it. I even remember like drawing images from it. When it first came out, I was in high school when Ronin came out, I believe. And every now and then, I like to just reread it. I enjoy the beginning of it, and that's what I think it is. I really enjoy the beginning of it, and it kind of falters near the end. But that's one that I always go back to for some reason. Sin City, I don't know. I've collected the individual books.
Right.
I don't think I ever got the trade paperback of his work.
Yeah, Mind the Comics also reread Ronin a few years ago. I think I reread Ronin maybe 7 or 8 years ago and enjoyed it. But like I said, I've decided is just my favorite Frank Miller. Yeah, Ronin is 6 glorious issues. Okay, Howler Mouse is around. Come on, say hello, Tim.
I don't think I've ever reread Ronin, which is kind of odd. I should, but the Frank Miller comic that I really need to take out of the shelf is Martha Washington.
That one I read it from the library a few years ago. That was really good. Mm-hmm. I have the Eric P. as the trade paperback of Ronin on his to be read pile. I did read a friend's set of the comics when it was out. That's all. It came out a long time ago. Yeah. But this,
and I don't know if you noticed, but Batman Year One rereads a lot better than Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. That was my conclusion, like in the late 80s, but I haven't read either of them since then.
In the 90s, I think. Well, Dark Knight Returns was still more readable back then, in the 90s. But nowadays, Year One kind of has gotten timeless.
Yeah,
and Dark Knight Returns has gotten 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tuck never read Sin City, but did enjoy the movie adaptation. 90s Frank Miller is peak Miller. Yeah, I just love this. And he said I liked the movie too. Year One was better. Yeah, I'll take Year One over Dark Knight, even though I haven't read either of them in a long time. But I'll take Stray Bullets over Sin City, but I like Stray Bullets better than Sin City too. But this is still my favorite Frank Miller because it's just like a perfect piece of noir.
Yeah.
In that, for those of you who don't know this one is about Marv, and you find out early on that Marv is like your basic dumb thug. And in the very beginning of the story, he wakes up in bed with this girl he worships called Goldie, and Goldie is dead. And it turns out he just met Goldie. And he realizes pretty early on that she was somebody who was in danger. So she went and found the biggest, toughest guy she could and hooked up with him to hopefully protect her. But she didn't tell him that. But she was killed anyway in bed next to him. He was passed out drunk. He's like, I couldn't even do anything. So now this whole issue is his thirst for revenge, his quest for revenge, because he's a big dumb thug and a woman like Goldie would never have anything to do with him, but she gave him a taste of the good life for just a brief while and someone took it away. and he's just on a quest for revenge where he kind of has to be a detective, and he's not a very good detective. Like, he's not the brightest guy out there, and he knows it, but he knows how to track someone down because he knows how to do violence. And there's a couple like scenes in it that are just some of my favorite scenes ever. Like, one of my favorite scenes is him at one point, Cannibal Kevin, this is once again the beginning of the story, just kicks his ass. Like, he's outclassed by this other fighter, Cannibal Kevin. And Cannibal Kevin just throws him in this dungeon with this woman. But Marv, to escape, and this reminded me of Conan too, because I've seen Conan do something like this. Marv wants to get out of the dungeon, so all he does is throw his body and Marv's a big guy, throw his body at the door time after time after time after time after time until finally the door gives out. And he's just not gonna not throw his body at the door. It was just like, I'm big, I'm heavy, this door's gonna come down eventually. It doesn't matter if I'm a little broken.
Yeah.
And then the fight that was in the movie with Cannibal Kevin is taken straight from this book, and it's just a brilliant fight, and the writing is taken right from the book, and it's just a brilliant narrative as he's fighting Kevin. It's just a brilliant noir narrative as he's fighting Kevin the second time, and he's kind of ready for him and prepared to cheat. And he knows it's all not going to end well, and it doesn't end well. Matter of fact, you can buy a Marv in the electric chair toy to spoil the ending for you. But he knows how that's going to end. Because he at one point he nearly quits because he finds out he has to go up to someone big after someone big and powerful. And he's like, this is going to end with me dead then. Oh, well, I'm doing this for Goldie. He's like, I'm just a big dumb thug anyway. Let's see. We got lots of comments about Sin City. There's a bit of Sin City style in Ronin already. Yeah, a female character in particular. Yeah, he was starting to develop that. I have every issue of the various Sin City stories. They all hold up, even hell and back. Tons of Will Eisner inspiration in Sin City. Yeah. The toilet scene is precious. Ronin was the last set of books I bought as a comic collector in 1996. Flashed to about 4 years ago, and Jared's videos got me back collecting. It was the first book I reread. Wow, a 25-year gap. Did Frank Miller get out of the Sin City mindset writing-wise? I think because I read, he's still pretty, like, even 300 is still kind of noir, but not really as much noir as this. I like 300 a lot too, but you have to buy it in the oversized hardcover where you get all the double page spreads together. Because I realized that was one book I bought a few issues of. Did you guys ever read Frank Miller's 300?
I'm almost sure I picked up at least the first issue because it was that weird size to it.
Well, no, it wasn't a weird size.
It wasn't like
it was regular longer. Comic. No, it was a regular comic book page, but everything was a double page spread.
Okay.
But it was weird because the spine just kind of, I thought it was okay. But then they put it out in an oversized hardcover, which was basically it was this wide. And then each double page spread had its own page. So it was double page spread on the left, double page spread on the right. So there was no interruptions between the double page spread. And it read so much better that way without the spine in the middle of the double page spread. So I was like, this is how he meant it to read. And it just worked so much better. Then he put the Holy Terror out in that format too. And Holy Terror, that was the one that was the controversial Batman story. I got it. There was nothing particularly controversial about it in the end. He just had Islamic terrorists as the villains. And then at the end, it turned into Bondage the comic. It was quite weird. So he was still kind of in that mindset. I don't know if it's quite the Sin City. This was the most Sin City of the Sin City mindset. This to me is his best noir. It just read really well. If I followed Sin City timeline right, the first story, Hard Goodbye, is actually the last story, despite the first full story. Now this is what is the name of this one? This one was just called Sin City. This is the first one. This is the Marv story. I don't know if it. Well, it didn't have a title at the beginning, so I don't know if this is the Hard Goodbye or not. After Sin City, his book went down. Yeah, I remember I didn't like the third Sin City bothered me only because Frank Miller was talking about how comics should be more for adults and this and that, and they should be respected as literature and more adult, blah, blah, which I'm perfectly fine with. But then, like, the third Sin City was about hookers in lingerie with swords. And it was just like, this is the least adult thing ever. I mean,
yeah, that's for, everyone knows hookers are for children.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Sin City did in a lot of ways revitalize crime noir comics in the 90s. It opened the door with like Stray Bullets or AKA Goldfish. It did. It really it put noir on the map in a series. Yeah, Sin City's impact on the scene was huge.
Sin City was more surrealist than anything that came out afterwards. Stray Bullets is fairly straightforward, even though I have volume 1 and even though the story is not set in the present, it kind of reads like read like the present back then. As for Bendis' stuff, Bendis is good at crime. It's believable. Sin City was always meant to be some sort.
It's fantasy. It's Conan. Yeah. I mean, it's as believable as Conan is without the magic.
Yeah, it's Shadizar, the city of thieves, but everybody's a modern mobster.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed rereading this, I gotta say. First time I've read it in years, but it is really, really good. Like I said, the fight with Cannibal Kevin is just one of my favorite fight scenes in comics, too. And it's also well done in the movie. It's good stuff. What? Sword-wielding lingerie hookers. Might have been a big hit in 86 as a black and white book. It was a black and white book in 96 when it came out. I guess it was a big enough hit. Big enough hit. Did you make it to the comic shop this week, Chris? Are you frozen, Chris?
I'm not frozen. Can you see me?
You're frozen in your picture.
Oh,
we can see you, but you're frozen.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm not frozen. You're frozen.
That could be it. That could be it. Let's see. Two of the comics I got this week are Radiant Black 27 and 27.5. This is I think there's one more month of double issues, my comic shop owner told me. This is the one that split off into two different timelines. Now you're moving again.
Yeah. Yep.
Split off into two because there was two guys who split the Radiance Black, Power Ranger suit. And then they were like, you have to choose which one of you will be Radiant Black. So one timeline, they chose guy number A, and the other timeline, they chose guy number B to be Radiant Black for this big showdown with these robots from outer space or something. And it looks like, I'm guessing, because Radiant Black, the B, I don't think is as successful as Radiant A. Matter of fact, I think Radiant Black B got Radiant Black A killed in his timeline, and Radiant Black A saved Radiant Black B in his timeline. So I think they're going forward. I imagine they're going forward at the timeline where, I don't know which timeline they're. It'd be easier if they go forward with the timeline with one of them dead, I think. But if he fails at his mission, the Earth's going to die. So I don't know. I don't know which timeline they're going to use. But I think we got one more month of dual timelines, and then it's going to come together again. But it's been fun. It's been an interesting idea. I don't think I've seen this idea executed before. Have you guys ever seen anything like that? Where a book splits into two books with two different timelines and then it comes back to one?
No, that's pretty
I've
cool,
only
though.
ever seen it used on television, but never in a comic book.
Yeah. Let it go. Let it go. I think it's the big fat kill. Dwight describes Marv as a man born in the wrong era. He says he should have been born in the days of the gladiators. Yeah. I read Faceless in the Family #1. It was a deep and artsy story. I liked it a lot. One of my other Faceless in the Family #2 came out this week. Once again, hard to read because the type in it is so small. It's about a 6-point font. So I was having even with my reading glasses on, it's a tough time reading this tiny little type. But the art is terrific. The story is fun. We'll give you a little Matt Lisnowski. But that font is tiny. Especially in this black and white artwork with all the little dots. And this I also found out that's some pretty cool artwork there. When I showed off issue 1, it was Sleepy Reader who said that this was originally a Kickstarter. Except the issues didn't print very well. So he rescanned in the artwork at a higher DPI, and now this is printing well. So cool. And that people is why you scan your artwork in at as high a DPI as possible, so you don't have to rescan it in again, which is usually around 600 DPI is good. Which is as high as possible on my screen. There's probably 11x17 scanners that do higher now, but I'm not even sure. Do you have a scanner, Chris?
Yep.
What type?
I have a Mustec that I bought.
You got one of those?
Yeah, I bought it in 2004.
Yeah.
Still working. I mean, I don't use it that much anymore, but
yeah, those ones are terrible at color scans, though. Woo.
Yeah,
that's
I had
they're
one.
Terrible
as well.
they're terrible at the thing I don't need.
Right. They're not bad at black and white scans, because I can remember that was the scanner that and especially the early 2000s, like every comic book artist bought. Because an Epson 11x17 scanner, it's like $2,000, if not more. And the Mustec was like $300. So of course everyone went and got the Mustec. I was lucky. I got my 11x17 Epson in around, 2007, probably sometime around there. But I got it refurbished at the Epson store for about $600.
Wow.
Which was a darn, it's been running ever since, thanks to ViewScan too. But I got to, when I worked for Marie at Teshkil Comics, I went in a little bit there to do some production for her. And they had a Mustec scanner there. And that's when I got to test it out and see how well it scanned. And it did not do color well. I was like, ooh, brutal. The colors were nowhere near the colors on the actual piece. But it did the interior pages fine. So that's all they needed it for. But yeah, Faceless in the Family. Scanned at 600 DPI. We get a good printing of it now. like I said, Sleepy Reader was a bit annoyed at Matt Lesniewski because he was like, "Oh, you should buy the new book. It's much better printed." After having bought the Kickstarter one, and as we all know, Kickstarter is also the most expensive way to buy comics. My sister just bought a Chris Geruso book for my other sister's nephew.
All right. What book was it? Colossum? I bet it was Colossum.
It was not. I think she settled on the G-Man Journal.
All right.
That's what she got him for his birthday.
That's actually a pretty good book.
Yeah, he's starting to like comics and graphic novels and stuff like that. So she ended up getting him that.
Good. Thank you so much.
It's of course going to be an extra thrill because I know the author. They're like, "Oh, this is Jared's friend's book."
How would one get a G-Man book?
Amazon.
Oh wait, this is you, Jared? Jared, this is you? I thought you were reading somebody else was writing that in.
No, this is my sister.
Oh, wow.
My sister got it. No one was writing that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cauldron of Horror #3 was my surprise read of the week. It wasn't amazing, just a fun horror book anthology from Eric P. Okay, I don't think I've seen Cauldron of Horror. Mm-hmm. Did you read anything this week, Paolo?
No. I've been busy with the job hunt plus my communistically mandated. I have to be taking a course that could potentially teach me an invaluable skill in order to keep receiving unemployment benefits.
Those commies and their love for education, that's un-American.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of those courses are actually useless. I picked one that can at least point me in the direction I need if I want the PR and marketing jobs to consider me, because I don't have experience in the area. Apparently, people who recruit for these jobs don't know that public relations and journalism are the same thing.
Nope, the same job. You can do either.
Yes, you can. The new PR for Nissan in Portugal was a journalist until 3 months ago.
Once he was telling the truth, now he's not. Now he's making up things like Copic markers made their ink size smaller because people were complaining their ink never ran out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to see? Jared's latest projects he gives himself when he's sick?
Sure.
Purchases.
Should you use the time when you're sick to Netflix binge watch something?
I did that, but I was also on Amazon looking at things. So I ended up buying one thing I don't buy is Pops. There's a Black Autumn Pop, Sabic. I don't even know who that is. And this is the one that kept coming up in my feed for like a year. A Friend's Pop of Gunther. And this was Saturday when I was sick and binge watching something on Netflix. And well, for me, binge watching is watching 1, maybe 2 episodes a day. So I have to find like 4 things to binge watch. And these were $3 a piece. That's what made me get them. So I got it in my head that I'm going to take these, I'm going to strip the paint off them, and I'm going to repaint them as monsters. Sort of like my monster face drawings that I do when I draw monsters on comics or monsters on rough paper. I'm going to paint pop monsters. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but for $3 a piece, I ordered 5 of these, the first 2 to come. I've got 3 more coming.
Well, I got to say, I'm glad you told us what you were doing with them, because I was racking my brains trying to figure out what's the connection to these pops and you. 'Cause it's like, it's not even something like a Hulk. I can understand you getting into Hulk because that's your, because you read Hulk from the beginning in that sense. But it was
I don't even know who Sabic is.
I have no idea.
That's why it was $3.
Right.
It's all the characters you've never heard of.
Well, why is he in the Black Adam collection? He's a Superman villain from the 90s.
He might have been in the Black Adam movie.
Maybe, but I remember him and his sister attacked Metropolis back when Luthor was pretending to be his own son.
Yeah.
Gunther Pop, LOL. There's no way my influencer is getting me to buy Pops. $3.
If they wanted to do a good Gunther Pop, they should have done one of
$64. Wow.
They should have done one of Swedish electronic music singer Gunther from Gunther and the Sunshine Girls.
I also discovered there are people who make custom pops.
Yeah.
Strip the paint off and they're like $200 on eBay for some random rock star pop. I was like, oh. And here's something I didn't realize either until I was just looking at this box before the show. It looks like they make special pops for Amazon, because this one's got like an Amazon code on it, and this is the Gunther one. And this
they're probably exclusive to Amazon.
Right. This is the pop for, I guess I got this from some other, some Amazon seller, but some other source, because it's got a sticker code on it. So I was like, oh, they must make pops just for Amazon to sell. Wow. Because I know they do that, man. They're from Vietnam. Do not open unless final customer. I think it says it it doesn't say that on the Amazon one. Pop TV Friends Gunther with Chase. Style may vary. That must be the Chase from this Gunther set is $64. I wonder what the Chase is. I don't even know which one. But I bought those and I'm like, oh man. And I was like, you know what? I probably won't be able to do anything till January with them. This is my sick mind when I had this sinus thing, which I'm just getting. I'm almost over it. I'm like 90% today. But that's what I did. Then I'm like, and I even was like, you know what? I don't need them right away. I can have them go by slow. Sometimes at Amazon, you can have them choose to send them to you slowly. That way you get like an extra 6% back or something like that. And I was just like, okay, they can send them to me slowly. So I'm like, I still have like 3 coming over the next week. And I'm like, am I ever going to get to doing these? I don't know. I have acetone so I can strip the paint, but I don't know how easy it's going to be to strip the paint off a pop. I don't have primer to prime them. And I think I'm actually going to use, since I'm going to paint them as monsters, I'm actually going to use one of my busted brushes and just black paint, maybe one color, to paint them as monsters. But I haven't painted much 3D stuff, so I don't know how well they'll come out or if I'll ever get them done. But if they do, I'll be sure to show them off here.
My LCS's owner has an exclusive pop that was made for him of a character in a police action comic book he published. I'm gonna see if I can find
a shot of it
on.
On Facebook. Making an art project is good. Faith restored. Because I've never wanted to collect pops.
Okay, yeah, I think
most of them are not terrific. So
they're fine. I mean, they're not for me. I do own a few, because I get the ones where that's connected to me, like a Spider-Man or a Godzilla. But that's basically it. I don't go, to me those are none of it's ever must have. but
Yeah.
that's definitely like not one of them. And but I do joke around. It's like I would want a fire star because I have Spider-Man and an Iceman. I would need a fire star. But those are my only demands.
And hey,
Not really much else.
when they're $3, it's like, all right.
Right.
How much is a pop usually? Like between 10 and 15?
Yeah, normally 10, 15, and then I've bought them I bought a Batman for $5.90. No, $5. Exactly $5 because it was $5. That's the only reason why I picked it up.
Yeah, that Gunther one has been like shows up on my Amazon page for like a year and a half now. I think that one was $4. It was a little more expensive, but some were like $2.69. So it averages out. Do you have any pops, Chris? With all those toys there,
I have a couple that were gifted to me. I've never bought a pop.
Which ones were gifted to you?
A Cubert and a Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh.
Hold on, I have to show up. Though not a pop. It was before pops were out.
A bobblehead?
I do have my Mighty Skull Boy.
Nice.
That thing is awesome.
With his Godzilla yarmulke. This is an accessory that came after Skullboy. And you can't get one of these. I went to a bar mitzvah that was yarmulke themed. I mean, Godzilla themed. So now Skullboy wears it. But this is our friend Jacob Trabott's comic book character who's got a book out. What is that book? Did you see that, Chris?
That was the thing. I think we talked about that. That's the thing I told you about that he was working on for a long time. Disenchanted.
Yeah.
And he didn't know if they were ever actually going to print it, and they finally did.
Okay.
It's like a million pages of work he did.
Yeah. How many pages did he do in that?
A million.
A million. It's like a 300-page book, and I saw him. He just posted on his. I think it's already. He didn't even know. Oh, he did the whole thing.
I think so.
Wow. It's a book called something Disenchanted. I think. I'm going to look that up. But I think it came out like in August. He didn't even know it, or at least it was available in August.
Yeah, that's like so typical of publishing.
Yeah. It's like you've got to keep it secret. Don't tell
why
anyone.
Why should we tell the guy? Yeah.
Then they don't even tell you when it's coming out. You're like, oh, thanks. We've kept it secret so long, we don't want anyone to know it's out.
Exactly. It's like I'm always afraid to people ask, oh, what are you working on? It's like I can't really talk about it because I don't know if I can. And then sometimes you run into the whole problem of can I show? Because sometimes I like to record items that I'm working on just to show later, and then it's like, can I show this yet? Is it even out? Because sometimes they don't even tell you that, as you mentioned, they didn't tell the dates.
Says the art pops go back to custom vinyl toy culture. Yeah, I have a cousin who's in custom vinyl toy culture, so I know he used to have he now works for the Four Horsemen. He's a project manager, but he and his ex-wife used to have a show called Toy Break on YouTube, which is probably still there. And I think, matter of fact, I don't know. They ran Designer. He's in New Jersey now. I think his ex-wife is still in LA, and they used to put on their own con called Designer Con in LA, and I think she still runs it. I don't know if he has anything to do with it. Are there any pops in the Chris Studio Toy House? Yep, we found out there were a couple.
Should I
Qbert
show
from
them?
the video game, or Qbert is the artist? Eric P wants to know.
What?
Which is your pop? Is it Joe Qbert or Qbert from the video game?
Oh, the video game.
The video.
Did they make a Joe Cube? If they made a Joe Kubert pop, I might have to go
Yeah.
get that.
The Toy Designer Con is going on this week in New York City. If I had money, I would be so into art toys. I just saw my cousin post a picture of him at a toy designer con. That must be the one in New York City, since he's in New Jersey now, and not the one he used to run in LA. Justice League Unlimited. Sorry, boys. That is the only action figure worth collecting. I have just a few random action figures. They have themed bar mitzvah and are considered kosher, as one may say. Yeah, you can theme your bar mitzvah anything you want, I guess. No one stopped them. They had Godzilla-themed bar mitzvah. Mind the Comic says, thought about Jared yesterday after knowing Greta Gerwig. Well, for 2044 Cannes Film Festival jury present. Here, you can say, where is it? Let's get this one. You tell her you know the guy who has her coat. From Damsels in Distress. I have to take more pictures of people in it. I haven't done that in a couple of years since I first got it. I remember Toy Break. Yeah, and my cousin George did that. The strangest pop I have is Frank Zappa. They make so many strange pops these days. Do they have,
I think the Frank Zappa one is fairly common.
Frank Zappa?
Yeah.
I imagine, being that he's a pop culture figure, I imagine it would be more common than... Mm-hmm. What's this one I got here? Sabic? It's got to be more common than Sabic. I saw that Gerwig is going to be a Criterion Closet video in the near future.
Sabic. Who was this? Blaze? Was that the? Yeah, his sister, I think, was Blaze.
Sabic's sister?
Yeah, in the Superman story.
Are there Seinfeld pops?
I'm sure there are.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive I've seen them.
They started making too. I just saw Seinfeld. Do you know the Play School people? They used to be little wooden figures when we were kids. Now they're like little plastic figures that are sort of like 2-inch tall pops. They kind of look like. They just started making all sorts of licensed ones of those. They've got like The Office, Seinfeld, Friends, all sorts of Play School sets that you can get with all those sitcom characters.
Oh, yeah.
How about Friends pops? Yeah, well, being that I just got Gunther, they got Friends pops.
Yep.
Being that, that's Sabic. I think I put them back in the wrong boxes. Oh, no.
What kind of collector are you? The wrong boxes. Next thing you know, you're going to start opening them.
Oh, yeah, hold on. We will show you the back of the Gunther so you can see the Friends pops. There's Gunther. There's Rachel Green. There's Bunny Chandler. There's White Cowboy Joey. Phoebe Buffet. There's Monica and the Black Cat. And there's Spudnik Ross.
So being that they're all in costumes,
yeah,
those are probably all the exclusives to Amazon. So that means all those characters would also have a set of them in their regular Friends outfit as well.
Right.
I just Googled Dukes of Hazzard Funko Pop. There are Dukes of Hazzard Funko Pops.
Yep.
There are 8 teams Funko Pops. I'm looking at the BA Baracus.
And the BA will probably also come with the van. His big head sticking out of the van because they
no, it's just BA. Although they could do a van one because there seems to be a line where they come with the cars. There's one with Knight Rider and Smokey and the Bandit.
Mm-hmm.
And have you guys seen the plastic cases for the pops?
Yes.
Because if you're a real pop collector, you never take it out of the box. They've got plastic boxes to go around this box to protect the toy box for pops. It's kind of crazy. That makes your pops real expensive.
It's like any other collecting thing.
Oh, wait.
Speaking of which,
there is a Funko Pop with of B.A. Baracus in the A-Team van.
Yep.
Mine the comic says, I'm looking at Seinfeld pops now. Not very good. Newman is thin. Yeah, that's the problem with pops. They all kind of have the same body. So there's not something distinctive about the wardrobe of the character. It's tough to do a pop. But they still do them. But that, that's probably why they put all the friends in those costumes, because it's easier to do them that way. Which TV show would give us the blandest pops? Oh, Seinfeld would be up there. The Office probably has pretty bland pops. 30-something or LA Law pops. It's a sad truth. Comic book shops are closing in the U.S. and selling Funko Pops keeps them alive since comic book sales are dropping. Yeah,
it's been going on for quite a while, actually.
Yeah, 10 years at least. Soup Nazi Pop is the best.
There are no Police Academy Funko Pops.
What the?
We need to fix that.
That's quite surprising.
Although, it's the same thing that Man the Comic said. I mean, how are you going to do a high tower Funko Pop if he's the same height as everyone else?
They do various sizes as well. They don't only come in those 6 inches. They also do oversized ones for like Godzilla and stuff like that. They do vary in sizes.
Yeah, and they'd have to do Commandant Lassard with the fishbowl.
Let's see. Eric P. says, in 2000, my LCS in Moscow, Idaho was kept alive by Magic the Gathering. If they need to sell pops, more power to them. Yeah, Magic the Gathering kept a lot of comic stores alive for a while. That's for sure.
A bunch of people walks into my LCS and they ask for stationery.
Yeah. So sad. Only one comic shop left in Malaysia, other than Kinokuniya and the Collector Secondhand Shop. Wow. I'm back. Paolo, is it your birthday?
Tomorrow.
He'll be doing we'll be over on Paolo's channel. If he's having everybody stop by, we'll be doing a birthday show with him.
Yes, I will be posting a link in the chat tomorrow so that everybody can come in. All I ask is that you bring a comic so that we can talk about that comic. That'll be my birthday present.
All right. I've got a few comics. Don't worry.
Cool.
Let's see. Another comic I got this week. The latest issue of Damn Them All. Charlie Adler still killing it, but Simon Spurrier really does overwrite for my taste. This was kind of a weird issue, and I call this one, it's about John Constantine's niece. It's a thinly veiled version of John Constantine as her uncle, and her uncle died, and she's the magic user now. And all sorts of things, all sorts of magic John Constantine things have been going on this whole series. And this whole issue is about, she just found out that somebody has her uncle's body. So she was going to try and track down her uncle's body, and she got swept up in this, her ex-boyfriend trying to save her. I don't know why. By adding her to his collection of individuals that this demon was all controlling or something. So this whole issue was, in the beginning of the issue, she shows up, and there's also these gangsters who are now using magic. And not gangsters and politicians. Whoever has power in London, in the real world, is now using magic to keep their power and get more power. At least the unscrupulous ones. And so she promised to deliver these magic amulets to these gangsters to trade them for her uncle's body. and she shows up. There's her boyfriend's hand with the amulet on it. And then the whole rest of the issue was her telling the story of how her boyfriend tried to snare her in this trap, her ex-boyfriend, I should say, tried to snare her in this trap and bring her into his fold with all these other people who he has magically enchanted. And the whole time she's just like waxing poetic about being snared and unsnared and her attitude. Now she has a bad attitude. And I was just like, this is just weird. Because it was like it was like Charlie Adler was telling one story in the pictures, and Simon Spurrier was just writing and writing and writing and writing.
And what else?
And doing writing. And usually the second time I read through Damn Them All, I skip half of the dialogue and balloons. And it reads just as well to me. So it's good. I love Charlie Adler's art on this book, but I'm not a huge fan of Simon Spurrier's writing. Not that I think it's bad. It just needs to be pared down, in my opinion. It's good writing, but there's just a lot of it seems unnecessary. Like I remember pointing out that I think it was last issue or the issue before. Like her, she's a freelancer basically, and one of her people who hires her, some government guy, was trying to hire her for a job, which she didn't want to take, but we all know she's going to take, otherwise the plot doesn't continue. But he had her arguing with her, trying to be her boss for 3 pages, saying she didn't want to take the job, when we all know she's got to take the job, otherwise the plot stops. So it was just like 3 pages of arguing when we know how it's going to end. It was just like a choice I don't know if I would have made as a writer. So he makes some choices that I don't necessarily agree with, but it's still good writing. So, Comic Crack says, I just got 6 issues of Charlie in the mail today. Not sure if I'll be around tomorrow, but I'll try. What is Charlie? Anybody know?
I don't know.
I have no idea what Charlie is. I know Comic Crack gets some obscure comics, but none of us here know? Whoa. You want 4 to sing happy birthday right now? I want you 4.
We can't sing happy birthday. Apparently, it's still copyrighted.
No, it's not.
No, it's
not
not
anymore.
It was never copyrighted. It turned out that was all a lie.
Judge said, you never had the copyright on this to begin with. At least the U.S. judge. Charlie Mensul Comic
Man. Nice.
Now Paolo knows it.
Yes.
I still don't. Is it European?
Yeah. Charlie Mensuel was the more upscale version of Charlie Hebdo.
Okay.
You know, the one where they had a terrorist attack.
Right, the satire magazine.
Yeah.
So Comic Crack will be reading some jokes for us.
In French.
In French. Some nice French jokes. He'll get Google Translate to translate.
I recently I did it myself, framed a retail poster for Secret Wars that I had for years. So I finally put it into a frame. But where I kept the actual artwork for Secret Wars, the poster, I also found a bunch of artwork stuff that I was collecting and just was all together and kind of like rediscovered it because I haven't looked at them in years. And these were in the 80s. They made a bunch of different types of portfolios. So I got the superhero ones over the years. But I also picked up the Conan ones.
Okay. We'll get you big so you can show us.
Sure. The classic Conan collection.
Oh, wow. Set 9.
So set 9. I don't have all 9, but this one's numbered. Out of 2000, this one's 1662.
Ooh.
And then the first one is a Joe Jusko one, which I gotta one day bring to Joe and have him sign it.
Yeah. Is Conan fighting Cobra in that one? He looks like a Cobra soldier or
he
something.
Does look like a Cobra ninja, but I don't know what book that would have been. A lot of these, if I remember correctly, were just made for the portfolios.
Okay.
So they may not have come from a particular book.
What year does it have on that painting down the bottom there? There was
1984.
84?
On the painting, yes.
Yeah.
But the portfolio itself came out, if I remember correctly, in the 90s.
So some early Joe Jusko.
Oh, yeah, completely. Yeah, so this came out in 1991.
Okay.
According to the little copyright info that gave to, you could almost see it clear. There we go.
Conan Properties Incorporated.
But this was done by SQ Productions, and they did a ton of these types of portfolio stuff.
Did they do the Marvel ones from that time? Because they look the same size in printing.
Yes, I believe they were also done by the
Fastner and Larson ones.
Mm-hmm. I'm almost sure of it. See, I couldn't even tell you who this is because of this. The way their signature is. It's like a symbol.
Okay.
But again, I don't know if these were Conan covers.
$25 back then. Yeah, they weren't cheap.
Oh yeah, they were not.
Who was that?
Atkins?
Dan Atkins?
Dan Atkins.
Okay. I don't think I've seen Dan Atkins paintings.
That doesn't look much like Dan Atkins, actually.
Yeah. I mean, well, I only know his drawings. Paintings are...
Right.
And who is that?
This one, I would guess it to be Clyde Cadwell.
Okay, name I don't know.
I think he did some covers for Savage Sword.
Okay.
See, not all of these are signed.
Right.
Oh, but that one's famous. That's a Savage Sword cover. I think it's still a Savage Tales cover, isn't it?
Maybe.
Who did that one?
It's not signed. And these are not really in any particular order. So,
well, who are the artists on it? Who are the artists?
So we have list? It's listed: John Buscema, Joe Jusko, Howard Chaykin, Dan Atkins, Frank Brunner, and Clyde Cadwell.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That one looked like John Buscema, but I don't remember him painting.
It is. It's reversed too. It's Savage Tales number 2.
5, 6. So there are 6 in here. So this one's Jusko.
Kid Goblin wants to know if that's a speaking spell behind you, Wilson.
In which area?
I don't know.
I do not have any speaking spell. I don't have a speaking spell behind me.
So
no, it's not a speaking spell.
Whatever it is,
with the Spider-Man logo, because that's a Mego battle van. If that's what he thinks, what he's looking at.
Comic Crack wants to know: has anyone asked Wilson if he's seen the Godzilla -1 yet this week?
No one has asked, and no, I have not seen it. I think this is the Frank Brunner one because that looks like an FB on it.
That's Frank Brunner.
So that's Frank. So we have. So then, I'm going to guess this is Buscema painting.
That looks like his drawing, but I've never seen him paint.
I think this is his painting because that's the only thing out here that looks Buscema.
Yeah.
If Jared has never seen him paint, then he's never painted.
So then, if this is Clyde, then this is Howard Chaykin.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen Chaykin paint like that.
So I would guess that this is Chaykin, and then this is
Yeah.
whenever this was ever published.
This weekly meeting of the Godzilla fan club just isn't working out.
And though not in this room, I did have a piece of Godzilla art that was part of this collection that I have bought at a comic convention from an artist whose name I don't even know, and unfortunately I haven't looked him up, but I have hung up the picture, so that I would have to get next time. And then the other Conan one that I have, the other Conan I have is Conan the Voyager. And these are all Bishemas.
Ah, okay.
Jared, have you ever seen him do that?
I have.
Okay.
Kid Goblin says, some kind of colors. How about that Godzilla movie, Wilson? Was it any good? He hasn't seen it.
Have not seen it.
He's behind the times with Godzilla movies.
But I've heard really good things about it.
He's no cutting edge Godzilla fan.
Now, I'm the kind of fan who could wait a little bit. So what?
Howard did early Archie horror.
Published in anything? Seven. There's 7 of these.
7. Oof. 7, but that one being in black and white must have been cheaper.
Yes. So this was 1992 as well. I would have got these at Hanley's. These were $12.
Oh yeah, half the price. Let's go back to solo layout and take a look at them. Conan the Voyager by John Buscema.
So there they all tiny, and the copyright information and where this place was.
Conan Properties Incorporated again. Conan with Bellet, or however you say her name.
Bellet.
Ernie Chan with John Buscema. There's his EC down there. So we know it for sure. No guessing.
Yep, he's inking him. This one was inked by, I believe, Joe Simon. Because there's a JS.
Oh.
So
Joe Sinnott.
Joe Sinnott. Sorry.
Joe Sinnott. That's definitely Joe Sinnott.
Oh, yeah. Because he makes the hair in women all the same.
Yeah.
More Ernie Chan.
Yep. You could almost always tell with Ernie stuff.
Yeah, he
has a distinct his hatching.
The rim lighting he did on everything.
Yeah.
More Ernie Chan, that looks like. Yep, yeah.
Yep.
He knew how to do that rim lighting. Very cool. Who's the inker on that one?
This one's the initials.
Down there. BM?
BM.
It looks familiar, but I'm not sure who it is.
BM could be. Anything on the back of this? No. This, I think, maybe John inking himself.
Yeah, that looks like him inking himself.
Yeah, because there's nothing to indicate a name,
Right.
even his own. So I
It's
think
got that loosey-goosey inking style.
right, where he's just like lightly penciled it and then just finished it off in the inks.
Yeah.
Maybe this one as well because it's not indicating anybody.
Oh yeah, I recognize that one too.
Yeah.
I'm fighting that monster.
Although there's almost a bit of Ramita here because of the way he's cutting into the
yeah, that one's not as loosey goosey as the other one.
Yeah, and I almost want to say it's Ramita only because of the way it's cut into the board, but that just was how people were doing that anyway. I just remember John doing that a lot. And then back to this one, which is probably one of my favorites because it does have her in it.
Yeah, I recognize that one too. Was that a cover, I wonder?
I think it was a cover.
I think it was. Anyone interested in seeing the new Studio Ghibli movie? I don't know what that is. Is that the Godzilla one? Or
No,
another one?
it's
I'm always on board for a Miyazaki flick. This is his last, isn't it, Tit Goblin? I have some Conan the Savage 1995 books on my comic shop wish list due to their Dan Brereton covers. He's a good cover artist. I like his stuff.
Yeah.
Look how he draws noses. Yeah, John Buscema always gave Conan that sort of broken nose look, that brutish. Has there ever been a Reed, Rip, and Slab for all Conan books? No, there has not. I don't know how I'd make one with all. Well, they'd have to. Was one of the things I try to do is pick books that are sort of equal value somehow, equal artistic, monetary, and whatever value as much as I can.
Ooh, we could do one with that year they had Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane doing covers.
Ah,
so
back in the early '90s when no one cared about Conan. So much so that Marvel gave up the license eventually. Now everyone cares about Conan again. We could do a Reed, Rip, and Slab, though. Let me see what I got made up. Let's go. Mystery in Love from 1962. Share screen. There we go. Mystery in Love from 1962. We got Girls Love, number 88, House of Mystery, 124, and Journey into Mystery, 82. One issue before Thor.
Yep.
Which is strictly a coincidence when I picked the month. May 1962.
So Girls Love looks like it's a Ramita cover, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Journey into Mystery looks like Kirby?
The House of Mystery, I have no idea.
House of Mystery, nope. No idea.
That's very young.
We know where the dolphin has to go on this. Girls Love. She's got to be dolphined because we can't have a...
No.
Carrying.
You can't have him carrying her in that position.
Uh-huh. Although tempted by looking at House of Mystery, all the artwork he's holding, they should all be dolphins.
GCD says it's Mort Meskin cover
Mort Meskin. Okay.
Oh, okay.
with inks by George Russo's.
Ah,
George A.P. Russo's.
The character was apparently called Mr. Doom, the guy with the hat.
Mr. Doom.
Oh yeah. Wait, did they copy Judge Doom in the Roger Rabbit movie from him?
maybe.
It kind of looks like him, doesn't it?
The Scorpion strikes. Let's see. Tit Goblin says, "Rip Love Slab House because I like the color and the logo. Read Journey. The Scorpion strikes." Undead Quinn said, "Rip Girls Loves." You guys are ripping up love stories like they're nothing. John Romita cover. Slab Mystery. Read House Mystery.
Besides, Undead Quinn should know better because Eric Breen has now become the main defender of romance comics from that era.
I'm going to slab Girls Love because it's a Ramita cover.
Yeah.
I'm going to rip House of Mystery and read Journey into Mystery.
Yeah, ditto for me. Same thing. Slab
Me
Girls
too.
Love, Rip House of Mystery, read
Me
Journey into
too.
Mystery.
Me too. Same.
So we'll Dolphin the Girl because we have to.
Eric P is reading House of Mystery, Slab Girls Love, and Rip Journey.
And I'm going to Flamingo. I'm going to add flamingos to the Journey into Mysteries because you already have a group of people staring. So we're going to have a group of flamingos staring at the people.
Good idea.
I'm going to Dolphin Mr. Doom in House of Mystery. And I'm also going to put the flamingos in House of Mystery where they'll be looking at the pictures.
Rip it because it's a kissing comic.
You're going to get cooties from it.
Read House, Slab Girls, Rip Journey. Dolphin the guy holding the girl. Flamingos adorning his black shorts.
That's a nice reversal. Have the dolphin holding the girl.
Yeah.
Oh,
Make
yeah.
Shadow in House of Mystery, the shadow of a dolphin. I am going to slab Journey into Mystery. I'm going to read Girls Love because I got to find out. What happened to that woman? Why is this big hunky man carrying her? Is he carrying her into the water or out of the water? I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to rip up House of Mystery. Oof. Nice cover, though. I like that purple and yellow. But that's the one that's going to get ripped. That's a DC book. I can rip it. Then I am going to replace the scorpion's tail with the dolphin. So the scorpion will be striking with a dolphin. And I'm going to put a couple of flamingos on the very front of the Girls Love comic saying, "Check out that Ramita butt."
The flamingos shouldn't say anything. They're just watching.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying in my mind, at least.
The flamingos like to watch.
Because flamingos can't talk, so, you know.
Not that the flamingos are kind of like the watchers.
Well, they're going to be watching that.
They're there to watch, but, you know, you could put an eternal monologue if you want.
Because John sculpted that guy's shorts back there. Think he ran it past Virginia? Give him a stronger butt. I like that Girls Love logo, too.
It's a good logo, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it weaves in and out of the 12 cents and the comics code is pretty good. With a little, Girls Love, nice little stories in there, too. With the head just barely peeking above the L. It's maybe a little too close to the S.
Yeah, it looks like it's kissing it.
If this was the computer age, we'd get rid of that tangent easily. But in that day and age, was too much work.
Hmm.
Flamingos perched on the Chris Girls Love logo. Yeah. Tit Goblin says Chris hates our game. Yeah, he does. Chris does not like fun. He is totally against fun.
I don't know how this game is being played. That's
You
the
don't
issue.
know. What do you mean you don't know how this game is? I'll
If I
tell
knew
you.
how it was played, I would win every game.
Do you know how to play Kiss, Marry, Kill?
F Mary Kill.
I know. I'm
Well, that
giving
much.
the rated
Okay,
G
look,
version
I'm
of it.
I'm up to speed on that part,
Okay.
and I played that. I participated in that part.
The other parts developed.
The other part is like, yeah.
Didn't we go over the dolphin story last
Okay,
week?
let's see if I can get it right.
Okay.
How about that? That's how I'll play.
All right. What's the dolphin story?
The dolphin is because in some country you couldn't at the time in the 50s, was it?
Right.
60 still.
Show a man carrying a woman. So they replaced Aquaman carrying a woman with a dolphin. He's carrying a dolphin instead of the woman.
You got it.
Mhm.
All right, that's the dolphin.
Yeah.
I don't know what the flamingo is.
The flamingo. The flamingo's flamingo's actually more recent. Let me see if I can get the. Oh crap! I can't remember who did it. I haven't filed under the artist's name, and I don't remember the artist's name.
But you've incorporated the dolphin by saying, okay, which cover? Like, where would you swap a dolphin in?
Which figure would you replace with a dolphin or anything? Like I replaced the scorpion's tail with a dolphin because we get creative here.
Oh, you're creative. But I'm also a little bit like I'm doing this one on my phone and so I can't really see. Well, I guess I can sort of see. I have to look real close.
Okay.
But they're like postage stamps right now, so it's hard to make out what I'm looking at.
The comic I was reading was a Mike Martz published comic from Mad Cave Studios called Don't Spit in the Wind. And it's this, weird comic about
a guy who keeps spitting into the wind until he gets
these two garbage men who have to go down to Earth, which is now a garbage planet, and clean some stuff up. And at various points during the story, because Earth is like this kind of garbage wasteland, but at various points, Pink Flamingo looking on. Including in the last issue, they had a big explosion to end this 4-issue series when the big headquarters of whatever down on Earth got nuked, and they had pink flamingos standing in the foreground watching and he left. He can't hear me the explanation. I think he did that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do that on purpose? Right in the middle of the explanation, you left.
Me?
Yeah. Did you hear the explanation?
No, you guys all dropped. No, you guys all dropped out. It was you said the world is ending and there's pink flamingos watching the world end.
Yes, the pink flamingos watching the nuclear explosion, the big factory or ship or whatever it was. So then we were so amused by the pink flamingos, we started putting pink flamingos watching in some cover. So the
only rules we gave the pink flamingos were they are only there to watch.
Right, and you don't replace a figure with the pink flamingos. You just put them in somewhere. And you don't give them a word balloon like nice Romita butt. Paulo doesn't approve of that, so.
No word balloons.
No extra dialogue. The dolphin replaces the flamingos. Just watch.
Jared, have you ever put flamingos or a dolphin in a Dreams of Things drawing? No, I haven't yet. I'm going to have to do that one of these days. But Tit Goblin sent me a painting of dolphins. A dolphin holding it. I'd show it to you, but I seem to have put it somewhere, and I was sick all week, so I wasn't looking for it from last week's show. Well, I'll have it for next week's show. By Newfoundland law, you can't show anyone carrying anyone, so I had to make a dolphin carrying a dolphin. There it is. That's the painting.
Let's not go to Newfoundland. It's a silly place.
It's a crazy place, that Newfoundland. What am I doing here? Remove from stage. There we go. And another comic I got this week is Space Usagi Death and Honor #1, which is a color reprint of the Space Usagi that appeared. I don't know if these came out in the late 80s or the early 90s. He did three-issue minis of Space Usagi. Which is like Usagi Yojimbo and Space. He's and it's pretty. I haven't read it since I have the original black and whites on my shelf, but I haven't read it since they first came out. So it was fun to read them again in color. And it's kind of like he lives on this one planet with a one giant castle spaceship. And these other, and it's just like feudal Japan. There's these clan lords who are fighting each other for supremacy. And in this one of his fellow clan members betrayed the clan, and now the bad guys have taken over the castle, and Usagi has to protect the prince. So it's Usagi Yojimbo in space with blasters and spaceships. He's still got, his space uniform is his, regular gi. So it's, Usagi with different different accoutrement, different draw. There's one of their spaceships is a giant turtle. And this is, you can tell Stan Sakai's drawing has changed over the years. That's not even how he draws Usagi anymore. But and you can also tell because at first I wasn't sure if it was a reprint or not. I'm like, it's got to be. You can also the reprints all have non-Stan Sakai covers. This cover was done by Cover Gallery Inside. This cover was by somebody named Sui Boo. And there's 3 covers and a sketch cover. It looks like So we got covers by Sweeney Boo, Agnes Garboska, and Jennifer L. Meyer. What was that?
Agnes Garbowska.
Galbarska. Okay. So you know who she is?
Yeah, I've met her. She usually says she's always been in the artist alley with the kid creators.
Ah, okay.
Area. She did a lot of My Little Pony stuff.
There's her Usagi cover.
How kawaii.
Garbowska.
Stan Sakai was just confirmed as coming to Comic-Con Portugal in March.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah. There are zero Stan Sakai comics published in Portugal.
There are what?
There are 0 Stan Sakai comics published in Portugal.
Whoops. Well, hopefully he'll have some who have gotten some from the U.S.
Yes, there are a few people who have the graphic novels.
Ah, that's good. But yeah, Space Usagi is just fun. Fun as ever. I guess they're probably going to put those out in trades now that they're colored too. I'm glad Dark Horse is continuing the reprints, colorizing the reprints. So that'll bring a new audience to them who insist on color. Put it somewhere, garbage can. Nope. It's, as you might imagine, I have a lot of artwork lying around the place. So all I have to do is slide it between a couple of my own pieces, and it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I know it's somewhere. Where that somewhere is,
Oh, believe me, I know exactly what you mean. like I was looking, like you mentioned these portfolios.
He just found portfolios he forgot he had.
Yeah, it's like, I even got Spider-Man ones.
Ah,
So there's your Spider-Man for the night.
okay. Spider-Man Marvel superhero portfolios.
$6.95.
Wow.
Again,
Cheap.
from the same company, I believe. Yeah, XQ Productions.
Uh-oh, I'm out of sync. Am I out of sync to you guys?
Yes.
I guess I didn't notice.
Let me try turning off my camera for a minute.
Now you're in sync.
I'm in sync to
You're
you.
in sync.
You're in sync to me.
You're in sync now, dog.
Maybe I'm not traveling across the ocean well.
You're back now.
Okay, that's good. Eric P., I picked up my first Usagi at a newsstand in Sweden, so I'm sure they're out there in Europe. Or
They are.
Or were at one point.
I found out some time ago that Usagi Yojimbo was published as a 30-volume set in France in manga size. So they so that they could they could fool the French into thinking it was a manga.
Fool the French.
It would sell better if they thought it was Japanese instead of American.
Yeah, I remember Dark Horse used to publish them in manga size over here too.
DC, I believe, is now doing a set in manga size.
Oh, that's right. They announced they've got a new manga size line a couple weeks ago. Why not?
That reminds me of when Marvel tried the Backpack Marvels, and that never went anywhere.
Marvel is still putting out their masterworks in manga size. I saw a new one this week in the store. I forget which one. So they got the Marvel Masterworks line in manga size too. I wonder who's buying them. Who are they aimed at? Because I would imagine like the old time fans who want Marvel Masterworks like them at full size. So I don't know who's buying the 6x9 soft cover Marvel Masterworks.
Maybe they can convince the millennials that they're manga.
Maybe they can get them into libraries.
It'll be easier if they don't take up too much space.
Eric P says, I think Silver Surfer was the new Masterwork. You're right. I think I remember now. That's the one I saw this week. The manga size Silver Surfer. And I got a #1 issue this week.
Those are worth the most money.
A David Lapham Under Heist.
Right.
He hand draws his logos, and he's not the greatest typographer. But
it's kind of fun to see that indie
logo look.
Yeah, everyone has a computer now, and everyone can make.
I don't hate it, but having had to work with his logos, they can be a little bit of a pain. And like this is the first thing not by Bad Idea I've seen him do in a couple of years, because he's been doing a lot of stuff for Bad Idea. Oh, and it looks like that they actually have a type version of it too. There's one that's a font. I guess they're like, no, we don't want to use this one all the time. But it's a heist comic. Pardon me. The basic concept is I think it takes place in LA. There's these guys who there are these guys who work in the tunnels under LA, like there are in New York too. I know, I forget their names. The groundhogs, what are they called? But anyway, one guy somehow in his work in the tunnels somehow gets a wind of a robbery crew who's going to tunnel under a bank and rob the bank. So he gets his buddies together and they're going to rob the robbers. Of course, it doesn't work out. It's a David Lapham book. It doesn't work out. I don't know how many issues it's going. but I don't like the comic itself. It's very thin and no cover stock. And it's a $5 comic because Boom comics are expensive. But I like Lapham's stuff, so I picked it. So it's on my pull out. It's probably only 2 or 3 issues, I would guess. But unless you're a Lapham fan, I wouldn't recommend it for its flimsiness and its $5 price. I really prefer my comics to be better quality physically, especially if they're going to be $5.
Yeah.
Shitty ass cover stock paper. No cover stock paper. It's self-covered. That means the cover paper is the same as the inside. Picked up some of the current Masterworks because I find them cheap. Okay, there you go. That's who's the audience. Eric P. The price is there, so he's picking them up. Okay. I'm glad someone's picking them up. I was just wondering if anybody, because I don't, like I said before, like 75% of the people I know who are comic fans buy nothing. So, who claim to be comic fans.
The older fans just want to go back in time and buy the same comics again.
They sure do.
Yes. If you don't start reading indie comics by age 20, you'll never start reading.
There were some people, I haven't seen them in a while because I haven't looked. But there were some people a few years after I started on YouTube where I was surprised started reading comics in their early 20s. And they read indie one. They hadn't read any comics, though. I don't, most of them I think are gone now, but I think that I was like shocked that I was like, oh, people are starting to read comics in their early 20s. Because I had not heard of that before, but there were a few people who did that. Like I said, this is 5-6 years ago. Maybe if I was looking around YouTube more now, I could find some more, but they're whoever they were long gone from YouTube now. So they probably stopped buying comics too. So I would say your person who starts buying superheroes in their childhood and then doesn't start buying indie comics by the early 20s is never going to get into indie comics. Well, but there are people who start.
You have to diversify. You have to diversify. If you're used to only reading one thing, and if you're used to reading 2 or 3 different things, it'll be easier to try a fourth.
Right.
If all you've done is superheroes, you stay with superheroes.
You either want the superhero comics when you were 14 or nothing at all. Jared, I enjoyed your abandoned art supply article. I have a pile too. Yeah, I actually wrote a second one when I added more stuff to my and my blog, which is on Radiant Comics, which radiantcomics.com, which Tit Goblin is like the only one who reads. But I wrote a blog this week about I decided to bring in a bunch of art supplies for my students because they've been sitting around my studio for a decade unused. I bought I have like my starting set of markers. There's like 180 markers there that are Blick, Artfinity, and Copic markers that I use for my Dreams of Things covers and stuff. Meanwhile, I had a set of 60 Shinhan markers. That was one of the first sets I bought back in 2011 when I started using markers again. Hey, look, I got a thumbs up. It just appeared. But I haven't used it in a decade. I'm like, you know what? These markers are doing no one any good sitting here. So I like gathered like all these art supplies that I haven't used in 5 to 10 years. Or the one I bought this summer and didn't use, and gave them out to my students at the end of the semester. I'm like, you know what? You guys may as well have these. So we can have these? I'm like, yeah, cool. Like I had 2 sets of colored pencils that I never touched because every now and then I go, ooh, I want to learn to use colored pencils. And I buy a set of colored pencils and I go, I don't like colored pencils. So they sit around for a decade on you. I'm getting rid of. I had a nice like 20 set of Rembrandt pastels, which are a really nice set of pastels. that I did a couple of pastel drawings with, and was like, I don't want to do pastel drawings. So they've been sitting there for a decade. Gave those to a student. I had a set of pan pastels. I don't know if guys have ever seen those before. They like take a pastel and crush it up and put it in a little round case. It's almost like working with makeup because it's powder. You have to like take this any sort of rubber thing and dip it in the pastel and draw on the page with the powder. And I like tried that out for like half a day and went, I don't want to use these. And they've been sitting there for a decade. So I finally gathered them all up and brought them to my students and wrote a blog about it. I love talking art supplies. So.
But I like that idea of being able to just bring to the students, and it's like, here, you guys use them.
You guys,
I think one of the best things that I remember in my elementary school, the art teacher, since I was the only one really into art in art class, like everyone was just there to do their thing, but I was there, and it was like, he was excited that I was going to go to art and design after that.
Right.
And at the end of the year, he just gave me a whole bunch of supplies.
That's cool.
a box of kneaded erasers, some canvases. It was like, here, these go to waste here. And I think it was great because then it was like, testing these things out, for the first time. I still remember my very first art box that had a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So, it had colored pencils, a couple of markers, the usual supply kind of a thing. A kneaded eraser. First time I even knew about a kneaded eraser.
Right.
Because it said on the box, eraser. It's like, where's the eraser? What is the eraser? You're used to like a certain color.
For those of you who don't know what a kneaded eraser is, it's one of these. And it comes as a little rectangle, but it's soft and you pull it up. And this is how you clean it, is you pull it and you can put it into whatever shape you want and, erase with it like that. And it doesn't leave erasures behind. It picks up the graphite into the eraser. So it gets darker and darker over time. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know what one of these was until I went to art school.
It just, because I think it was just marked eraser. And I was like, what's the eraser? I don't, and I think it was also green.
Oh, it was a green one? Okay.
It was a green one, which they
now make colored ones. I've had yellow ones and red, but they were all gray when I first got them.
They were always gray to me, except for the one green one. And it was amazing to get a set like that, but not even knowing what it was.
And only recently I found out they come in these little plastic boxes now, too, which I finally found a use for. I've got 2 Advil in here. As I was sick and had to go in to teach, I put my medicine in one of these little kneaded eraser boxes and put it in my pocket.
I didn't know they were putting them in boxes now. Yeah. That's actually pretty cool. I would keep my if I had a box like that, I'm almost sure I would keep the pen nibs.
Oh yeah,
for my Wakems in that.
I have a pen nib box. Where is it? Not for my Wacom, but for my various speedball nibs, which I never use because I don't use nibs that often. But I got this at there's a website called artessentials.com or something that sells all sorts of pen stuff. Every nib you've ever heard of, every handle, every whatever. But that's where I got this box from when I ordered some Gillot 1950 nibs.
Nice.
I always liked that one. Let's see what we got here. Eric P., when I was in my early 20s, there were people who were picking up indie books that never read comics, but that was 30 years. Yeah, they're Love and Rockets at least early Love and Rockets. A lot of people who didn't read comics were picking up. Like I knew some punk rock women at college who loved that book because it was about punk rock kids, at least early on. Oop. My mic muted.
No.
It didn't? I was blinking on mute. I wonder what's going on. Something weird. I started in my 20s. There we go. There's someone who started comics in his 20s. That was the 90s alt wave when people, probably hate got people doing that. How many of your students use handheld supplies? All of them. They use digital and handheld. So, how much did you guys draw as kids, and how did you feel about drawing? I can still remember being in the 7th grade. I decided I wanted to learn to draw. I wasn't very good at it. I wasn't a natural. But I always liked drawing. I knew I kind of wanted to go to art school when I was in high school.
I made the decision to be an artist in the 3rd grade. Not the grade I should be making life choice decisions, but that's when I decided.
How about you, Chris?
But not comics.
I always liked drawing when I was a kid, but I didn't think it was something I would be able to pull off. So I never took it seriously until I was like 21.
What year did you get to Marvel? How old were you?
22.
That's how serious he was. Because I remember you learning to draw when you were at Marvel.
Yeah.
Because you hadn't gone to art school, really.
Yep.
That's some story about your origin, Chris. Wow. Yep. Yeah.
Inspiring, really.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so used to like when I start to talk, there's a delay, and you're already into something, and you're talking, and then I just shut up. So like, I just expect you're just gonna pick it up and go somewhere else.
I'll wait for you.
What do you want to know?
Tell us more
Q&A.
about
What do you like? Where should I start?
Questions for Chris. We'll ask him anything you want to ask him. When did you first decide what made you decide you want to draw at 21 to take it? What made you decide to take it seriously at 21?
I think I realized like I didn't have a chance of doing anything with like I didn't have a chance in the real world. Like college, I kind of crashed and burned after being like a solid student in high school, and then college everything kind of fell apart, and I'm like, why am I working so hard?
What were you taking?
Who even knows? Like math classes.
Did you have a major?
My major kept switching.
Okay.
But I kind of was mostly it was math, and then when I realized like, look, even if I can graduate with math, like a math degree somehow, like, is that what I want to do? Spend the rest of my life like struggling this hard and being this stressed out?
You weren't particularly good at math?
I was particularly good at math. I was very good at math until a certain level, and then it was like, okay, I'm out.
Calculus is my level.
Calc was fine. It was Calc 3 where things really started to take a turn. And then after that, it was just like all this.
I was always good at math. Then in my senior year in high school, I took calculus. And
okay, so we're talking about you now. Now we're talking about Jared.
I'm just telling you. Calculus was my level. Okay, so you reached that level.
Well, I realized like I'm probably going to fail at anything I do, so I might as well be the thing I would want to do. So like, let's just see what I can do with comic books, which was pretty much the only thing that kept me like getting up in the morning. I was like, I want to read the next issue. And then I found out about Marvel's internship program, and I got in there. So yeah, things advanced pretty quickly after that.
Okay. Yeah, after that, he said, "Hey, I'm here. I can learn to draw." And who are your main drawing inspirations?
Charles Schultz. Because again, I imagine myself being more like a comic strip guy. Because I thought like, well, that's within my range.
Mm-hmm.
Like that seemed like okay. I could do that. I could do like Talking Heads, 3 panels, come up with a gag.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, yeah, but doing like full pages and like a sprawling stories, like that's, forget it. You know, like I know where my limitations are, but now that's what I'm doing.
Man,
I just
got
did 2
to know his limitations.
I just did two books that were 240 pages each.
Let's see if we got some questions for you. It says, I remember the days you showed Terry Moore books to look into. I still show Terry Moore books. Rachel Risey. I still buy everything Terry Moore does. So that's me. I still buy Terry. Meth is tough, says Mind the Comics. Not Chris is not taking meth as far as I know. Chris, how did you get your Marvel job?
I probably would have had a better time in school if I was taking meth instead of math. The Marvel job just came as a consequence of the internship and me not
Marvel's
being
intern
an insane
program. When was that?
Yeah. When was I an intern?
Yeah, when Marvel had an intern program for a long time. Most of the time, I don't know when it ended. It probably ended when Ike Perlmutter got there sometime.
They don't still have interns?
I don't think so.
I would think
they occasionally
he would
did. I know. I was just told by some of my students that Marvel does not have interns anymore.
Huh.
Really? Because
yeah,
I remember at least a year or two ago, it was still on the website about the intern program.
Maybe I'll have to double. But I remember Ed Murr got his students internships at Marvel in like the early, after I had gone, in like the the late aughts. I don't know how to describe those years. So Marvel, like the whole time I was there, Marvel had an intern program, I know a lot of people. There was even one because who was it? Hobson went to Antioch College. So there was always one Antioch intern. That's where Marie Javins came from. But I think that program ended when Amy Scott died. She was the Antioch intern, and she died while interning for Marvel. And I don't think they got any more from Antioch after that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Chris, how was your first day at Marvel? Says Mind the Comics.
I don't even remember. I remember being really super nervous and just like scared, like I was going to say or do the wrong thing or make a mistake, and then I'd be out on the street like right away.
But that describes Chris on a lot of days.
Yeah, but I mean, it's laughable now when after being there for a number of years afterwards, and I see like, oh, everybody's nuts here. you just have to not be nuts, and then they'll go, okay, hire that guy.
Yes.
Like somehow they were struggling to find interns that weren't insane.
I know what you mean. If you were halfway normal, they're like, this guy's great.
Yeah.
Because there were some basket case interns.
Oh yeah.
I only the ones who couldn't make it. Whew. Your funniest Marvel story, Chris? Oh, there's too many.
Well, can you think of some? I mean, they probably all involve you making fun of me.
You have to in order to understand the Marvel bullpen, especially in the 90s. You have to understand that what's his name? The Mike Hobson, the publisher, and other people at Marvel were like pre Ike Perlmutter, especially. They were invested in the myth of the Marvel bullpen and the idea that the Marvel bullpen is a fun and creative place. Matter of fact, I remember once talking to Carl Potts, who was saying he and Mike, who has since died, and Tom DeFalco were going to write a book on leadership explaining that if you want a workplace to be fun and creative, it has to come from the top down, which is true. You know, the lower people can't have fun without the permission of the upper people. That's the way, you know, jobs work. So the bullpen was this big room with anywhere from, depending on the boom times or bust times, you know, 15 to 35 people, I think it is, it's height in it, who were all sort of creative and encouraged to talk all day as they did their jobs. So we would just be hanging out all day, talking as we did our job, and talking a lot of times consisted of busting on each other and having a good time, and busting on Chris, and then busting on Thomas, and then Thomas and Chris teaming up and busting on me, and then busting on Johnny Green. It would just go back. It would just happen all day. And sometimes the new people weren't used to that. And there were some new people who like, until they got it, were just like frightened all the time. And I don't know how quickly Chris got it. How fast do you think you caught on, Chris, to everybody just having fun?
I caught on immediately, but I didn't know at what. I wasn't sure if I was like allowed in.
Ah, okay.
You know, until
because we always tried to include the new people. That was one of the things we tried to do, but to get them in on the game, but it wasn't always everybody's temperament.
I think what happened was one day I snapped. Do you remember this?
No.
Maybe you weren't there, but
because, hold on, let me explain to them. Part of the game was what Bunch dubbed verbal brinksmanship, where what you were trying to do was get the other person to snap. And
that's not even how I snapped.
Well, I know you don't even know. That's what it is. And sometimes and the other person knows you're trying to get them to snap. That's part of the game. So they're trying
That wasn't even the context of me snapping.
What was that?
Yeah. That's not even how I snapped, though.
Ah, okay.
Because I understood that.
Okay.
It was during a chaotic time at Marvel.
Uh-huh.
It might have been right after Dawn had disappeared.
Right. She was our boss who left.
And then so now Dan was in charge.
Uh-huh.
And then Raphael came over to me, and Raphael, I think, was an intern at that time. And Raphael comes over to me. He says, "Yeah, Dan says you need to train me." You've never heard this?
No, I don't think I've heard this one.
So, like, in retrospect, it's like obvious. It's like, okay, Dan never said I had to train.
Yeah.
Raphael, but Raphael comes over. He's like, "Yeah, Dan says you have to train me." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you need to train me how to like set up pages." I think he was an intern for the production manager, and it was more like copying stuff over to whatever those blocky disc things were.
Side quest discs.
Side quests. So then I went to, and I was skeptical, so I went over to Dan, and I was like, "Yeah, Raphael said something about like you said I should be training him on how to set up pages," and Dan was just like, "Yeah, sure." Like he thought I was to Dan was just like, you know, focused on more important things.
Right.
He thinks I'm asking him like, "Can I show this guy how to do this stuff?" So he's just like, "Yeah, whatever." Right? But I'm reading it as like, okay, I guess this is what I'm supposed to train this new guy.
It's like that episode with the misunderstanding.
So then I got like Raphael's just like kind of hovering like right over my shoulder, as we're like going through and like working on showing them how to do page setups and stuff. And like the crowding was just like getting to me. and the entire Raphael vibe was getting to me, and I snapped, and I just like I sent everything on my desk. I just kind of like I sent it flying in just one sweeping arm motion. And it was like the equivalent of like the phones stop ringing and everybody just like stops. Just quiet. Everyone's looking at. Yeah, and I think nobody really realized what happened because that happened so fast. So everyone turns around and they don't know what just happened. But I'm just like, oh, that's it. I'm done. This is it. This is the end. This is the end. So the only thing I can think to do is like I stand up and I go right out the back door. Remember where I sat? Like the back door was behind me. So I just kind of like I stood up and I just kind of calmly walked out those doors, and just like went, and it was 4:55. So I was like, I'm staying out here for a half an hour, and then I'm gonna go back upstairs, clean up, and and I need to cool off.
Right.
And I'm just a million things are going through my head. Last person I want to see is Raphael. So that's who I see walking straight towards me as I'm like rounding the block for like the second or third time. And then now he's talking to me. He's trying to like calm me down, and I'm just like, I don't want to talk to you. You're the last person I want to talk to. So I can't remember if like I went back upstairs with him or if I convinced him to just leave me alone. I just want to like calm down out here before I go back up there. So by the time I went back up, everyone was gone. And then the next morning, I was like dreading, like what's gonna happen when I go in tomorrow. And so I'm like, I got to get there early. I got to get there early, be the first one there. As soon as Dan comes in, let me talk to Dan, just. So I'm in there. I'm the first one in there. Next two people in, Johnny and Thomas. They immediately start making fun of me. and that's when I knew it's okay. It's gonna be okay. I was like, and I told some people think like, oh man, that must have been rough. I'm like, no, that made me feel so like I was like, okay, it's gonna be fine. Like,
how long had you been there at that point?
I don't know, like 2 or 3 months, maybe.
What was that?
No, like 2 or 3 months, maybe.
2 or 3 months. Oh, no wonder you were. First of all, it's funny because I was the one who usually trained everyone. So it's funny that he asked the guy for 2 or 3 months, or
Yeah, that's why. Like everything about it was weird. And then so yeah. So like I knew it was gonna be okay. Then Dan came in, and like an hour into the day. Dan and Johnny called me in, and I sat there, and Dan was just like, "What happened?
What happened?"
I was like, "Here's what happened," and he was like, and then Dan was like, "Why were you even training him?"
You of all people have been there for 3 months. So that was during the. Let me tell you about this time during the. It was even later than that. Your first year, or maybe even 2 there. Who even knows? But probably at least your first year there. Sometimes, I'd be walking around the bullpen or whatever, looking to start trouble, and I'd look over at Chris, and Thomas would give me the high sign. He'd go, "No, stop." I'm like, "What?" Like, she's like, don't mess with Chris. He's fighting the wars right now.
Yeah, I had that permanent resting 50-yard stare look on my face.
Yeah, he would just be sitting there working and staring and mumbling to himself at times, and we'd be like, Chris is fighting the war. If we compared him to some guy who had, post-traumatic stress from being in Vietnam, who would just come home with his 1,000-yard stare, and you're like, oh, leave him alone, man. Don't mess with him. He's got the fat. And that was Chris's.
I want to push back. I want to push back on. I was not mumbling.
I remember you mumbling. I could be making that up in my mind. You're right. In my memory, you're mumbling. But I can't.
I know I had the look. I know I had that look on my face, but I did not mumble.
I just more than once, Thomas warned me off.
He's fighting the war. He's fighting the war.
Fighting the wars. He's fighting the wars in his head. You got to leave him.
And then they're like, what's going on? And then Thomas would like provide like the sound effects of like what's going on in my head, and it's like the bombs and oh.
He would make those noises behind you. Oh,
Eric, no, he
went to high school with Amy Scott. Oh wow, I knew her brother pretty well. Wow, I did not. I've never met anyone. Where's she from? You must be from Wisconsin. I think that's where she was from. Amy Scott was an intern at Marvel from Antioch. I think she was in her freshman year at college, but she was just turning 18. I think she died like a week before her 18th birthday. I was out with her the night she died. That was stay with me. And it was a Marvel event at oh God, the name of the bar just flew out of my head. One of those ones Abbey Tavern. And she left at about 9:00 to go home and watch the season finale of 90210. I remember that's what she wanted to get home for. And then the next day she wasn't at Marvel. And her roommates figured she hooked up with someone at Marvel and didn't come home that night. Then the following day, she wasn't in either, and her roommates called Marvel and said, "Where's Amy?" And that's when, what's his name? Ron Perlman called in his security company, and to track it, found out that night, instead of going home, they figure she must have run into someone she knew, because she was found dead of an overdose in the hotel that was above CBGB's. So they figured what's happened. They found in her diary, like I'm told a lot of young girls have, she wanted to try heroin. And she must have ran into a friend who said, "Hey, we're going to try heroin. Want to come with us?" And they gave it to her. She overdosed, and that she wasn't even found in a room. She must have started to OD, and they put her out in the hallway and she died. And it was like, something that Narcan would, save her in an instant right now. But it's like, whoa. Before you mentioned her name, I was going to ask if anyone knew that story. Yeah, that's the story. You're never too young for a NAM flashback, Tit Goblin says. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Okay. Michigan it was. She was one of the most beautiful girls at my school. Yeah, she was really. Matter of fact, a year later, I'm at the grad dinner for my sister, and Amy's parents were handing out an art award in her name to my sister's friend. She's one of the few amazing artists from my high school years that died of an OD. I could still remember. I actually talked to her parents. By the way, because I took her picture that night. The night she died, and I took her. She had a cute profile. I was like, and I'd been trying to draw a profile, and I was the one who carried a camera with me usually. And that night, it happened. I said, "Oh, let me take a picture of your profile. I like your profile. I want to use it in a drawing." So I took a picture of her profile, and usually don't even take pictures of people in profile. I don't even have one of her full face on, and so I sent the picture I sent the picture to her parents, a copy of the picture. And one day they called Marvel and wanted to talk to me because, like I said, I was out with Amy her last night. And I told her about it and talked to him. And I sent him a picture. I'll still never remember. Her mother said, I mean, of course they loved the picture. And they're like, oh, that's her new haircut. We didn't even get to see her in the haircut. And her mother said, we're so lucky. How many people get to have a picture of their daughter on the night she died? And I was just like, oh, that still breaks my heart to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I knew Amy. She was really nice. She was, like I said, she was a week away from turning 18. But every year on Facebook, I repost that picture in remembrance of her. So if you ever run into her parents, tell the people at Marvel still have a remembrance for her every year on Facebook. I don't know. They'd probably like to know that. But yeah, sad. But I don't think they had another Antioch intern after that. Mm-hmm.
No, I don't recall where it's from, because one year they had a few interns in that were, I don't know the full story, if Marvel even knew, but there was a program, it was part of the internship program, where they were getting people to come in, and it wasn't until like in the middle of it we found out that the people they were coming in weren't really, the most internship programs will get college credit and stuff like that. That's how I got in my internship. I had gotten college credit. Then they were from various schools that were like the internship program of that school was like the best of the best students got picked and got sent out. And somewhere along the line, there was a program where these kids this is their last chance to learn something. Jail may be the next thing. But didn't tell us that. So we got a crop of interns that were basically like, I didn't find out until I think Julio told me. It was like my intern disappeared for a day. Didn't come in. Apparently he was in jail that weekend.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, I had no idea. And it was like, because it was something to do with a gang. And it's like, I had no idea. And it was like, if you couldn't make it in, you couldn't make it in, fine, whatever kind of a thing. But they didn't want to tell me what was going on. And it was like, it was just odd. And then there was a little pushback about that. And then next thing you know, I think it was Mary Sprouse. It was like, yeah, they didn't tell me that was kind of the program they were giving us. Like, so I don't know if that one ever lasted, because the next crop of interns came from somewhere else altogether.
There was one intern I knew who came from a bad area. What was his name? Santiago. Real nice kid, but came from bad neighborhood in the Bronx. Which I didn't know until we knew he was there for a while too, I think, the early 90s. And he used to tell me stories about his neighborhood, and it was just the gangs, ran his neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I think he was like 18, 19, and I remember he had a car, and he had to take the battery cable out of his car every night, or it would get stolen. He's like, they just steal it for fun. They just steal it and move it for fun. I can't find my car. And then I remember when he eventually went into the Army. At one point, he was even like, he's like, Jared, I think we were leaving in the elevator. He's like, Jared, this is how bad it is. And he opens up this little bag he's carrying, and there's a gun in there, a handgun. And he's like, man, I got to carry that now in my neighborhood. I'm like, ooh, that's scary. I think he went into the Army after that. I was like, wow, that is a scary, scary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's a story. Oh, by the way, Eric P., did you know that Amy Scott appeared in an article on Antioch College in Details magazine, I think it was. Let me see. You guys talk for a minute. I want to go in the other room and see if I can.
You guys talk.
Well, it was. Is it just silence?
How does that work? Who's got something to say?
Yeah. After that story, my first day at Marvel was St. Patrick's Day. I met half of the people I was going to work with in the Abbey. Sven Larson never left the Abbey that day.
There we go. This is I remember I got this when she was there because June 1994, Details magazine. There's a story, Campus Interruptus. Asking for consent is sexy. Antioch is no man's land. And it's, what does it say? At Antioch College, love is a battlefield, and the school's sexual consent policy gives women a powerful new weapon. We asked 2 students to assess the damage so far. Greg Fat Powers feels unmanned, but Abrams says the sex just keeps getting steamier. But the blonde in this upper corner is Amy Scott. So she actually appeared in a magazine too. Oops, you can't really see it because of the shadows. I have it scanned in somewhere, but she's all fogged out, but that's her up there who was the intern who died at Marvel. So she actually, that's why I still have this Details magazine all these years later. The first excavation I was in charge of had students that were digging as community service. I thought they were the nerdy gifted students that were at a site for extra credit. I know your pain, Wilson. Digging as community service. Maybe there were lots of CHS kids that ended up at Antioch College. I recall the whole thing about its policy, but there's the magazine if you want to track it down. Details, June 1944. Her video yearbook is also up on YouTube. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Send me a link. Bum, bum, bum. Her video yearbook. Yeah, I don't really remember my first day at Marvel. Partly because my friend Ed Murr was already there. He got me. I just remember he's like, hey, you want to come work at Marvel? I'm like, sure. So I went down there and worked there. I was like, oh, cool. I'm at Marvel. Then I was, like I said, I was just freelancing. So I was gone. I was there for like a week or so. Then I was gone for a while. I came back and
what an amazing time just to be able to go, hey, do you want to work here?
Hey, you want to work at Marvel? And that's exactly how like 5 of my college friends got to work at Marvel. Let's see. I was there. Ed was there. Bunch was there. Matt was there. Feng Ming was there. Who else was? John was there. That's 6 of us purchased crew. I don't know if there was any. There were some who unrelated to us, who were like Carl Bowlers went to purchase, but he wasn't part of our crew. I just saw Carl Bowler's name on a comic. Which one was it?
Isn't he the Bad Idea guy?
Yeah, but he's not with Bad Idea anymore.
Oh,
Hasn't been in a year. He was Faceless in the Family. Yeah, I guess he's doing some stuff for Oni because this is edited by Zach Soto and Carl Bowlers.
he's been everywhere.
He's been everywhere. Let's see. The last comic I got this week is Rogue Sun, issue 17. And I'm glad this story is finally resolving because it turns out I don't like stories when somebody takes over somebody else's body. When like the villain takes over the superhero's body. I just don't like that particular story. Even if it's done okay, I'm just like the inevitable end is the hero gets back his body.
Did you like Face Off?
No. I did not like Face Off. I didn't even make it all the way through that movie. But in this one, there's sort of a new twist. Because at the end of this one, the hero manifests a new body. So I'm like, oh, there's an interesting twist. The villain or ex-hero still is in the hero's old body. But somehow he manifested a new one. All right.
So it's different. There you go.
I was glad to see that. I'm like, all right, I'll take that. I'll take that. Oh, look out, Ma. It's the Beastie Boys. Is Detail still a magazine?
I don't know. It's been
At
least 10 months since I've been in any magazine store.
Yeah. 50. But this is why I had subscriptions to so many magazines in the 90s. They were so cheap. 12 issues for $12. Now magazines, since they don't have advertising, it's like $12 a magazine. But in the 90s, it was get these 12, face value was $2. Get these 12 issues for $6. And you're like, because it was all about the circulation. Graphic Man is here. I wanted to walk out of Face Off many times, disappointed in myself for not doing so.
Well, what you should have done is imagine that Face Off was a comic drawn by Gil Kane, and you would have walked out much earlier. For those who don't know, Graphic Man does not like Gil Kane. In the Fossil show, we have the Gil Kane over appreciation alarm.
It's a running gag.
Yeah.
It's a run. I actually did. I think I turned Face Off on cable when it hit cable. I was like, I cannot watch this ridiculousness, and turned it off after a while.
You gotta lean in. You gotta lean in on Face Off.
I didn't. That may have been one of the movies that broke me from. At some point in life, I don't know when it was. Maybe what year was Face Off? Late 90s.
No,
96 maybe.
I would guess sometime in the early 2000s, and it was a while coming. I made the decision that I was never ever again gonna watch a movie that was so bad it was good. I didn't care anymore about bad movies. I only wanted to watch good movies. Because we got lots of friends who love movies who love bad movies. I was just like,
how could you have a single conversation with Bunch?
Exactly. So I was like, Face Off, I think, was maybe the beginning of me saying, I can't do this. I can't watch bad movies and make them good in my head.
Well, bad movies that are so bad that are good are always fun to watch.
No, they're no fun to watch for me anymore. I was like, they're no fun for me. I've seen too many of them.
No, I still like to watch America.
And there are plenty of movies. And there are plenty of movies that other people think are so bad that are good that I think are so bad. There's the problem. My friend Bunch thinks there's a lot more movies that are so bad that they're good than I think. But because he buys into that bad movie aesthetic, and at some point, I bought out. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that bad movie aesthetic anymore.
That about 80% of all spaghetti westerns are actually bad, but most of them are so bad that they're good.
I'll watch them on MST3K, with other people making them good. Paulo, when is your stream tomorrow in Eastern time? Same time as this one, I think he said, right?
Yeah,
6 p.m.
6
Eastern
yeah.
to 9 p.m. Eastern, or whenever. I don't know when he's going to.
Yeah, it's already set up on my channel.
Yeah. We'll all stop by. He said he wants us topless, so don't wear your shirt.
No, I want everyone to bring a comic so we can talk about the comic. I'll put the link up in the chat, and anyone can come in.
Anyone is welcome. Everybody's welcome.
Mm-hmm. I do not promise free booze. It's a BYOB stream.
BYOC, bring your own comic. And the last thing I got for this week, but haven't read, I actually bought one of the Brubaker and Phillips comics the week it came out. Usually I put these on my Amazon wish list and somebody in my family gets them for me for Christmas or my birthday, but I just felt like buying one at the comic shop. Hardcover, crime and mystery thriller, rated M for mature. $25. I think I got it for 23 with my discount. And I buy everything Brubaker and Phillips do, so I know I'll like it. I know a masterfully told puzzle box mystery with a fiercely beating human heart, whatever that means. Jordan Harper. I sound like you can put that on any book. Oh, Jordan Harper is the Edgar-winning author of She Rides Shotgun and Everybody Knows. A boarding house full of junkies, a neglected housewife, a young girl who thinks she's a superhero, a cop who just wants some peace and quiet, and a private detective looking for a runaway girl. That still doesn't tell me anything. Chris's podcast about Tom Cruise movies is great. Pure comedic gold. All the movies are bad. That's right. Chris and our friend Greg Schiegel do a podcast called Cruising Together, where they talk about Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah, my old boss had a favorite movie that was so bad it was good. Days of Thunder.
People tell me that's a good movie.
He would make up any excuse to watch Days of Thunder again.
I think he thought it was a good movie.
Hold on.
I know people think it's a good movie.
I think some of Tom Cruise's movies are very good.
Yeah.
Some of them are not. One in particular is so bad that it's good. And that was the movie requested by Jared Osborne when he was a guest on our show.
That
Cocktail.
movie is good. That movie's not so bad.
That movie mostly drags on and on and on and on, and nothing happens.
What happens is it teaches the lesson to guys that it's okay to be an asshole. Don't worry. As long as you're good looking, you'll still get the girl. That's the message of that movie, and it's a message we all need to hear.
Well, that makes it even worse. No, but Days of Thunder.
So is that the Tom Cruise movie where he's the best at what he does, but then something shakes him to the core, and then he has to find this woman to help him get back to being the best at what he does?
Yes, that's
that
the one.
You mean the plot to every Tom Cruise movie before Mission Impossible?
Yes.
And the best
I've seen that Richard Hall bit, Wilson.
Thank you. I wasn't saying it was mine. I was just questioning.
He wasn't given credit either.
Yeah. No, because I couldn't think of the name of the guy who said it. But thank you.
I'm not sure I even got it right. Is Richard Hall correct? Is that the name of a guy?
It is definitely the name of a person.
Richard Mall was the guy on Night Court.
True. He was
R.I.P.
But when it comes to racing movies, Days of Thunder is nowhere near as good so bad it's good as Driven. Driven is the best so bad it's good auto racing movie ever.
Tit Goblin says 7 Lucky Ninja Kids is my favorite so bad it's good movie, but it's not bad. It's amazing.
So is that related to 3 Ninjas?
7 Ninjas.
3 Ninjas was a they tried to turn that thing into a franchise, but they had to keep changing the kids because they all got older.
They kept growing up on them.
Yeah. What the hell those kids think they are? This is Hollywood.
One of them became a Power Ranger.
We should sign off for the evening before my sinuses start to clog up. I think my medicine's wearing out. I can feel the bubbles in the back of my sinuses. No, it's connected. Okay. All right. So it's nice to a good talk as always. We had a good time.
Yep.
We're glad everybody in the comments joined in. Let's see if we can get some. No, we can't get any.
Yeah. It's when you do it naturally, it pops
I got
up.
one thumbs up. That was it.
We had two of them
Oh,
at the beginning of the show, and then a little
can't
later.
get the balloons. Can't get nothing. Have a good night. I'm almost well. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
Have a good one. Take care.